out of the dark. Her long dark hair was unkempt and ruffled. It had an unwashed sheen. Bridget Perez couldn't remember the last time she took a shower. The apartment she stayed in was grand, with large windows overlooking the city skyline. Slanted roofs filled it with golden brown clay tiles, chimneys with smoke coming out of their stacks, and dark clouds on the horizon painted a beautiful, if somewhat melancholy picture. She saw her reflection looking through the large living room window, raindrops gently knocking on the glass. Around her, and speckled throughout, were larger buildings of importance for businesses and companies that had their fingertips in the world's economy. The vast cityscape lived up to its name as true York City. It had been a while since Bridget had a job, and her restlessness was amplified by the longing for her brother, Hades, whom she hadn't spoken to in over half a year. As the days passed, Bridget would often find herself in front of the large window, normally with a stiff drink in her hand. Today, as she peered toward the ground floor, she saw a new advertisement. Need help? Get it now from the world-renowned Sherlock Cruise, helping with the mental needs of the many. Underneath the tagline was information on location and how to contact. Through various means of media, Bridget had heard of Sherlock Cruise, a psychological specialist who was sought after the world over. His books on how the mind works would often sell out within the first few days. His methods were odd, but after a few high-profile clients, he earned a name for himself. It still took Bridget 2 whole weeks before she finally came to her senses and made an appointment to see Dr. Cruise. She woke up one morning realizing she had felt numb for as long as she could remember. She woke up not even knowing what day it was. She knew, for Hades, she'd have to get some help. Sherlock Cruise's downtown office was cluttered yet organized. His assistants and secretaries were scrambling to take down appointments, answer questions, and filing. The rain still hadn't stopped outside, but it was nice and cozy in the office lobby. Another large glass also got pelted by the falling drops. Name, the lady said behind the desk. She was older and firm, but she also sounded tired. Bridget. Last name, the secretary sighs. Oh, it's Perez, Bridget responds without emotion. Oh, the lady's eyebrows shoot up. It says here you're in group therapy on the 2nd floor, over that way. It'll be starting in 10 minutes. Go head up. There should be some coffee and cupcakes. Thank you. Bridget heads toward the wooden steps, each one creaking as she walks up. There is only one large room on the 2nd floor, with stairs heading to a mysterious 3rd floor. In the middle of the room, on a hardwood floor, are a series of chairs in a circle. There are already 2 other people there. Hey, says an older, portly gentleman. The other is a younger, pretty woman who remains silent, but staring. The clock on the wall shows she's about 8 minutes early, so Bridget gets some coffee and a cupcake and grabs a seat furthest away from the other 2. As time goes by, each of the chairs fills up. There were a few hellos, but nothing overtly friendly in any way, or mean-spirited either. As the 8 minutes finished up, Dr. Sherlock Cruise finally made it up the stairs. As he walked, he was still writing things down on a notepad he had opened. It was evident that he was a workaholic. He grabbed a seat that was a part of the circle, but his presence made it seem like it was in the center of the group. All right, nice to see some new faces, Sherlock Cruise says. He has a friendly smile. Let's go around and just introduce yourself. Nothing fancy. Part of this exercise is to also make sure you're repressing narcissistic tendencies to only talk about yourself. So please just your name and move on. Starting with the older gentleman. Hi, I am George Winston. A middle-aged man went next. He looked disinterested and tired. Gail Newman. I am Johnny Goodwill. A jolly voice, very flamboyant. I cut hair for a living, and I... Just your name, please, Sherlock gently interrupted. Next, the young woman from earlier. I am Sarah Lopez. And finally, an older woman with pulled-back white hair. Ethel Smith. She was very curt when she said it. Bridget Perez. Bridget felt all the eyes on her. They lingered while a pause hung in the air. Oh, Sherlock looked at his notepad. This is your first time here, along with Sarah, actually. Okay, now we're going to do a small check-in and update. How was your week? How are you feeling? Again, briefly, try to remember. Talk about how you feel, and be honest with yourself and us. Johnny went first without being asked. I am a barber, like I said, and I had the most busy week. with the most ungrateful customers. They change their mind in the middle of a cut, like, oh my God, you can't keep doing that. It's not right. Pick what you want before you come in. Am I right? So were you only angry this week? Sherlock gently prodded. Johnny put his finger to his chin while he thought. Yes, just angry. And you know what? It wouldn't hurt some of them to say thanks every once in a while. I can only work so many miracles in a week. And then, thank you, Johnny. Sherlock looks at his notes. Let's go around, and if we have time, we can revisit some of these issues. Okay, now Sarah, your turn. Sarah sat up in her chair, a little surprised at hearing her name. Curtly, she said, Yeah. Everyone looks at her. Oh, yeah, Sarah says, a little flustered. It's my turn. Well, mostly I felt sad and angry. Sad because my mother still hasn't called like she promised, and angry for the same reason. And was there anything else that happened this week? Sherlock asked her, making direct eye contact. Sure, she looked around as if people were judging her, but nothing I want to talk about at this point in time. Bridget smiled inward. Sarah reminded her of herself, but a bit younger. That's perfectly fine. Sherlock looked at the person next to her. Okay, Ethel, how are you doing this week? Any better? No. Ethel's shoulders stiffened, and she stared daggers into Sherlock's, who remained nonplussed. That damned postman keeps dumping all my mail through the slot as loud as he can, and it makes my little candy all jumpy. Then she starts barking and chewing at all the envelopes on the damn floor. I am going to sue that damn post office. But you don't want them to use a different mailbox? One put outside, perhaps? Sherlock inquired. Of course not. I have a perfectly good door mailbox slot they can use, but they don't have to make all the racket, just dropping them off. Maybe you can put some padding underneath the drop slot? I am not going to bend over for them. They should be bending over for me. I pay their damn taxes. Anyway, that's all for me. I don't have anything else to share. Ethel looked at Bridget to go next. This last week was nothing, she said, looking for words. The days don't mean much to me now. That's why I am here. I didn't know if it was Monday or Friday, if it was morning or night time, and I didn't care. What made you come if you didn't care? Sherlock asked in a soft tone. My brother, Bridget straightened up. He'd hate to see me like this, and I'd hate for him to see me like this too. Thank you for sharing, Bridget, and for signing up for this. I think you'll benefit greatly from it if you put in the work. Okay, George. I am doing okay this week. No episodes. George seemed proud. I didn't yell or fight anyone when I felt the anger coming, and I did the grounding technique you taught us. Very good, George. Sherlock did look genuinely proud. And finally, Gail, how are you doing? I am doing okay, Gail said curtly, reminding Bridget of her brother. Anything else Sherlock started. No, Gail interrupted. Okay then, thank you all for sharing. This week, I want to try something new with each of you. I am bringing in some emotional support animals. I have the following: a bunny, a snake, a spider, a frog, 3 cats, and a crow. These animals were selected based on the surveys you all took earlier. I want you all to try to take care of these animals. If at any point, day or night, you feel you can't call my office immediately, one of my staff will come pick it up from your address. So we don't get to pick? Ethel asks. At this point, no. Sherlock looks at his notes again. The surveys you took were very detailed and provided me with enough insight. Although you may not think the animal you get is what you want, I do feel it is the animal that you need. Do you all understand? The vast majority of them shook their head in the affirmative. Okay, and one final assignment. I want you all to write me a poem about either a family member and their impact on you, or how you feel and why, or on what helps you cope. You can do more than one if you want, but just one is all I am asking for. Do we get to read them out loud to the group? Johnny asks excitedly. Sherlock makes eye contact with everyone when he says this. My idea was to go over them with each of you, one-on-one first. Then afterward, yes, if you choose, you may read your poem to the group. Sherlock tears a page from his notebook. I have a list of who is getting which animal here. Please read it and prepare your home for them. They'll be here next week. He gets up and pins the page to the corkboard by the stairs. George Winston, Spider Gale, Newman, Cat Johnny Goodwill, Snake, Sarah Lopez, Cat Ethel Smith, Frog, Bridget Perez, Cat and Crow. Why does the new girl get 2? Ethel asks suspiciously. Sherlock looks at them, including a surprised Bridget, all in due time. There was a little more talking, but shortly the meeting ended and they all went their separate ways. Most of them chattered about how they were going to take care of their emotional support animal. At home, the rain made small thuds against the large window. Bridget looked around at her large apartment and wondered how a cat and a bird would fit into her life. The company might be nice, she thought. She'd have to take notes on what exactly a cat and bird would need here. Did they already have names? Would they be trained? Her mind raced with many other questions. But the big one loomed over her head. Would they actually help? She made herself a drink and watched out the window again. But this time, she didn't just sit there numbly. Her mind started working on the poem that Sherlock asked them all to do. She went to her large, ornate desk, took out some paper and a pen, and started writing down her thoughts. You made me. Here I am, because of you. You made me in your image. I tried to live up to your ideal, but you didn't even care to know me. My youth and mind you took from me, along with my heart and soul. You are not a mom at all. And now I burn with hate and sorrow, and here I am because of you. You made me in your image.